now here we are starting turn 2, and if you recall, the Venetians have a penalty in terms of being able to attack. They can't attack, i.e. move next to an enemy with Pitigliano, unless they have lost, I believe, a couple of these towns. Okay, but does that mean I just want to stay where I am? I certainly don't want to be in quarters particularly. That doesn't do me any good. I'm not seeing any advantage if the French manage some sort of fast attack. That would be a problem. But what I'm thinking is I probably want to maneuver. This is not an important town. Sitting there all game doesn't make sense. So I'm going to spend 3 points to upgrade from garrison to maneuver. Changing to maneuver cost me 3 minus whatever I paid. So we're going to go to that. We're not going to actually give him attack orders, though. Let's see the other one here. Retreat. Ooh. And that costs me 3 of my 4. The reason I would maybe not want to do that is to reserve points for other points in the game. But I'm really worried that the French are going to be able to take Crema. They'll have this here fairly easily. And it's just going to be fairly hard to take the territory back. Nations were able to grab the first couple of initiatives in the turn. We got good weather. I already went over that. Alviano here marched in and has gotten to Cremona, but outside of it he's dug himself some entrenchments. He had enough movement points to move next to it on the first turn. The second turn he had all his movement points again. He moved in 4 more movement points to fully entrench. That's going to make that tough to take. And I believe Cremona is vital to the French chances of victory. I think they can't even take a minor victory without it. Yeah, they need Cremona and 3 of the 4 up here. So that's going to change my focus, because Alviano's got a fairly strong force compared to Roquebertin over here. Now, Roquebertin was planning on using the ferry to cross here to get to the town, but luckily for him, there's other ferries. I think there's one here, one here. But he also has a pontoon bridge which he could deploy if he needs to get across, say, over here or something, which might be advantageous. The Venetians can't cross here. But off to a quick jump, the Venetians have denied the French the easy route to victory. How easy it is? Well, not terribly. First of all, Alviano might be able to dislodge Roquebertin if he's there, but also the initiative differential is enough that Alviano has the edge at getting in there. So, but it was definitely a threat worth exploring for the French. The end result of the movement phase, Louis was able to get the jump on Vitelli, marches up to here. In combat, Vitelli's going to withdraw into the fortifications, but Chaumont also swung through, grabbed the last of the towns. This means, what is he? Pitigliano is available to attack from now on. He can actually engage in the combat. His own action, he only got 1 movement point. He got screwed into a bad die roll. And he got 0 movement points. He had a -4 to his movement, and he's got this artillery with him. So he's not really able to move very quickly at all. I have to be careful and make sure I count all his troops with them. Same with the French. Now the French artillery is a little faster, which is kind of cool. So it's the combat phase. Vitelli here is going to take this. He's taking himself inside the fortifications, which means we're not going to have a field battle. And we can't have a siege because neither Louis nor Chaumont has built their own entrenchments to launch the attack from. So now we're stuck in one more option left for the French. If they want to pay 2 action points, and they're in kind of a hurry to get things done, but they aren't going to get many action points next turn, right? The next yellow turn, they're only going to get 4, I think. And if we look at the orders table, well, an attack is going to cost us 3 of those 4. So if I dedicate Louis to charging out to attack, I'm not going to have many points for anyone else to do anything. And that kind of will suck. The 2 extra points will help, but I think given where we are in the turn track, I've got another full turn with everybody active. I think it's not worth spending the 2 points on a treachery attempt. This is a hard call, because I've got a lot of force, but I don't have it, where I can really use it. And I'm worried that Pitigliano comes up soon and maybe relieves the siege. So I gotta kind of worry about all that. But I also don't want to spend all my points right away. Now, other people can get attacks at 1, so I'd be able to put one guy on an attack order or a maneuver order. Assuming that my line of communication doesn't screw me, which it probably will. So, yeah, I think we're going to hold on our 2 points. Maybe we shouldn't have launched Louis in April anyhow. Okay, and then, let's see. That means we go to attrition. And when I look at the attritions, I don't see a problem anywhere except up here where people are in the zones of control. So we'll check those attritions, and we're going to lose a strength point or so, but that's it. Okay, and now as we enter into, I guess, the 3rd turn of the game, 3rd turn of April, he's going to go here, because the French player is always the first player. And we had a loss of 1 unit. It could have been worse off of the French because they had a huge force, 43 or more strength, but no modifiers against them. But now we have rain in play. And this costs extra movement point for crossing secondary rivers. And we have bridges across secondary rivers. I don't think there are any across the Pau. And it's affecting, so it'll add 1 to the attrition. And it subtracts 2 from artillery fire. And the firearms special ability cannot be used, and reduces combat. This is a problem for the assault, because Louis has his engineers, which help him do artillery fire and everything. He was kind of hoping to bombard the town, and that's part of the reason maybe I can excuse him having moved adjacent to it. Because this is such a tiny force, probably Chaumont would have been the better choice to just take this whole area and leave Louis back here and keep the 4 points or whatever that I expended for Louis. He hasn't done dick so far, but he can blow through something a lot quicker. Especially with the restrictions on Pitigliano, it ends up being kind of, hey, if I'm going to have the right to kind of wander around here without worrying about him attacking, that's not a big deal. Yeah, he could dispatch a minor commander, but Chaumont has a fair-sized force, so he might be able to hold them off. But that is not the case here. And actually, we don't have anybody terribly good here. Okay, so we'll start the initiative process again. By the way, this is, everything except the major combat has kind of gotten down to a nice little patter for me. I'm not having any difficulties anymore with play. I think I'm going to have another big hump when I get to the major battle and have to pick the chits and all that. But, we've resolved say, the initiative die roll issue had to be taken one way or another. Maybe I chose wrong, but it works. Either way, it'll work. So I would like to move Chaumont. I've had some activations here. Over here, Alviano didn't do anything. Louis built his entrenchments so that he can siege, and now Chaumont would like to get away, but Vitelli still has a zone of control on him because his forces aren't demoralized or anything else. He doesn't have a lot of troops. He has 1 cav and 2 regular. And the problem with this is, 1, I have to pay an initiative penalty. So I'm going to lose, he has an initiative of 1. I'm going to lose 2, I guess, to my initiative modifier. And I don't remember what I rolled. I think this is the die roll. But that looks more like Louis' die roll. Anyway, let's say this is the die roll. So my initiative currently is at 0. -2 means 2 movement points will be lost for my attack or for my movement ability. Now, down 2, that puts me down to, who is this? Chaumont. That puts me down to 3 movement points. I could take this trivially and then try to march down here. So 1, 2, 2, 3. This is as far as I would get. So I'm beginning to think that I don't really want to exit the zone of control. Instead, I'm going to spend my movement allowance to entrench as well and give myself a shot at attacking. Because even if I move and take this, I'll have to take an effect off here, and a die roll might end up causing 50% losses on the cav. It's probably not going to hit on the infantry. There's only, well, it could hit up to 30. So I could expend 2 of my additional movement points and only have 1 left and be able to get into here and take this. But it's not a fortified territory. I'm not able to get down to Crema, which is what I'd want to take. That's one of the important victory cities. It's a fortress. I'd like to get there before Bitigliano gets in there. So we'll do this and put this here. And now the French are down to really 1 guy that they want to move. So let's see. We'll face him against this. And our roll is a -2 here and a 0. Do I want to hit him with a -2, or do I want to move my 4 movement points? Rain's not affecting my movement. 1, 2, 3, 4. I could get close to here. I probably am not going to be able to get in time to save this guy from the siege. So, or do I want to hit him with a penalized movement? At which point the French will probably not take an additional move. I'm not sure. After movement, we've hit the combat and attrition, and our only real combat situation is the siege here. Now I want to fire off Chaumont first. Since I've got him stuck there, he might as well do something. So we look at him. He's got no artillery, but he is in a position where he can siege. So what he's going to do is he grabs a siege 0 marker. One of these. We'll put this facing this way so it looks like he's shooting cannons there. Okay, and that's all he's doing. The defender can't retreat. And as far as I can tell, nothing else happens, because in the siege procedure, we'd have to get a breach in order to get any further. All we've done is set up the siege, which is going to cause heavier attrition. But what's key to this is now Louis is also going to declare a siege, and he gets to increase the siege rating, right? Nah. No, it's only if it's not there that he gets to place it. Oh, well. Okay. So, now we find that page I was just on here. Artillery shell phase. Both players get to fire artillery. Well, Vitaly has none. But remember, artillery is penalized due to the rain. We got to find the artillery fire table. There we go. -2 during rain turn. He does not have the siege ability. Is this a fortified town or city? That's just a fortified town in this little symbol. So we're at -2. Siege status has not been increased, right? The number? I don't know. Maybe it has. Alright, let's put this back here and look if we can find this. This is the secondary part. Let me make sure we don't increase status for that second siege. See, I don't see the siege status increasing. Unless... maybe, let's put this back in the roll so I can keep my page here. What's DC? Discipline check. Firing, yes. Artillery units lose a strength point. What? Maybe each breach causes? Yeah, each breach causes that. Okay. So we're not going to get any bonus without firing the artillery. Alright, so we don't get any column shifts. How many artillery strength points do we have? We have 5 firing here. There's another artillery under here. Okay. So 5 firing at -2. Chances are not good for us. We roll a 1, which gets us to 0 or less. We have no effect. And that means we're not going to be able to breach in, but we are going to be able to cause it additional attrition losses for this. Now, he has a line of communication coming out this way. If I could have gotten Chaumont on the other side of him, he would be surrounded and he'd have trouble. But right now he has a way out that's safe. So we'll just go to the attrition. I think I'm gonna find that chart. Lots of charts. Here we go. No more than great battles of history, right? We're gonna have +1 due to weather, and besieged gets a +2. No, +0 because he has the line of communication. Okay, so we check each force, and probably Louis is in the worst shape here because he has 10, 19. 23, 24, 25, 26, 42. He's on the top chart. He's got another commander. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. And +1 for the rain. So he's going to lose his strength point, and out of his forces I have some pretty crappy stuff. Lorraine is with him. We're going to reduce units because we're not going to get any strength points back in this game, so we might as well wipe units out. And in fact, if we get low enough, we can boost them both up, or we can boost one unit up to an 8 and make it bigger. Alright, so that's him. These guys, he's close. Luckily he's got some clear terrain there. He's here, but this is all forest. That's alright. On the other side, and again, he's in his zone of control, so he has to check, is Chaumont, who's probably not in bad shape. He doesn't have a very big force. He has 18. Not a small force. He takes a hit. He's got a bunch of Italians who make good. Well, see, these guys have firearms, but I don't really want to lose my good French cav. So we'll take the Italians. And now, finally, for Vitelli here, he's only got 3 strength points and is only a +1 because of the rain, because he's got that line of communication. Nobody's really screening him here. And he's fine. He couldn't have gotten hurt. And I believe that puts us into an interphase turn where things are going to get kind of interesting. So we'll break until we hit that. With the interphase turn option, I think the Venetians would want to offer one here. Because, yes, it forces them to just say, screw it, we're not doing anything. But it puts the French in a position of rolling. Remember, they've got 30 hexes to their line of communication to begin with, and then add to that whatever they have. So they've got a good distance to begin with, and if they refuse the interphase, they get 2 shifts against them, putting them over here on the 73 or more. They're probably not going to be able to do butt kiss. They've got a hard enough job as it is. Now, as far as I can see, you can do this. Okay. So if there is an interphase, that would force a normal turn to happen. Now, everybody has to select standard garrison orders for all their forces for the current game turn. If the French agree to that. I'm not sure it's fair in this scenario to allow the Venetians to do that. In fact, I'm a little worried about the interphase turn in even the longer scenarios, in that you could kind of trump anybody's ability to act quickly by just saying, yeah, we're not going to fight. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, to tell you the truth. In this scenario, I think it would ruin the scenario completely. So I'm going to abandon that and not go to that. We have a quick weather check. We are now in May, which gets us to a slightly better weather roll. And we go back to fair weather again, which is good. Now, we have to worry about the command phase, the administrative segment, where we get capital points and then all orders are going to be removed. Here's where it gets troublesome. Gets troublesome because I triggered damn Louis here, and he's going to be handcuffed for the turn because he was under attack orders last turn, along with this guy. This guy's not, but he doesn't have a very big force. So the French are going to be kind of incapable of acting for this turn, and they're going to have to kind of camp out anyway to a large extent. So maybe the interphase isn't that big a deal because it allows both sides to kind of rest and recuperate from it. Okay, so we're going to see how many points the French get. And are there any modifiers? I don't see any. We get one for weather. So we get a 6. Out here on the 30 table, we're going to get -1. Now, we have to look up in the scenarios. And we're getting 4, so we only get 3. 1, 2, 3. And for the $18 hexes away, which puts us here. With a 9 gives us -2. The Venetians get 5 this time, so they get 3. 2, 3. Okay. Now, and this is one of the things that I'm doing in detail because we haven't seen it before. So now this is... all right, we have to find where these points are spelled out. administrative points. All right. Okay. Under orders. Okay. So removing orders. All orders must be removed in the new order. So first we remove the previous attack orders. There aren't any. All orders are removed except the attack order. So we have a maneuver here. 2 attacks. A maneuver, and a garrison. The hard part is we have to remember who's actual commands and who's not. Now the attacks are turned to previous attacks, I guess. Okay, if a previous attack is present and an attack order is received. Okay, so actually we allocate our orders at this point. And I have 3 points to do an attack order. Now, if I make an attack order, I have to make an immediate discipline check, which could end up screwing with some of these units. What can I do about this siege? Because that's really my problem right now, is the siege. And can I conduct the siege without an attack order? I think I can. If I can find it. Okay. I'm not sure. But units can conduct attacks without an attack order. So I think the only thing the attack order says is that I can move adjacent to an enemy. And I'm fine where I am. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip these to previous attack. I don't know what that means. The previous attack remains on the Capitanos until the next turn when APs are received and orders are removed. Now, I don't know what that previous attack means. If it's present and an attack order is received, he has to make a discipline check. I think he gets a regular order as well. It's just any time this month, if I want to upgrade to an attack order, I've got to deal with that discipline check there. So what do I want to do? Well, in these cases, I'm sitting out in the open, which means I have to do the stand order to stay there. That's going to cost me 2 action points. Yeah, you see how quickly these kind of rack up, right? And that will be for Louis. And who else is there? Rockbarton? And oh no, Rockbarton's not there. Chaumont, yeah, the other guy with the previous attack. Now, for Rockbarton, I could give him an attack order, but I don't know if he really needs it, so I'm going to just keep him up there with a maneuver order. I might have to upgrade to an attack order, which will cost me another one, but I think I'm probably okay just spending 1 on him. Because I do need to move and capture something with him. Okay. For my guys here, we keep a garrison here on my guys. For the Venetians, I have no bias here, I swear. Vitelli's going to take a garrison which costs him nothing. Alviano is going to take a garrison which costs him nothing. He's sitting on the key location. The game cannot be won by the French as long as he's there. So he's pretty happy. And now we come to Bittigliano, who I do think we want to attack with. Because we want to try to save things here or maybe launch an attack against Roquebat. So he's the major force with an attack order. That's only going to cost him 3, not the 4 that the change 2 has. It is going to put me in a position, though, where I'm burned out for next phase. So that may not be the best of ideas Plus, I spent a lot of my action points. But that's what we're going to do. Again, testing out the system. For organization, I don't think we have anybody we want to split off anywhere in particular. It might be possible that we want to split somebody off to defend Crema, but I feel like I need my whole force active if I'm going to be attacking. So, I think we're done with the organization segment, and we go to the activations phases, which is where we alternate between the two players rolling for initiative. First player is still the French, so they get this. Maneuver-wise, this turned out to be a pretty slow turn. The Venetians won the first activation, and they handed it off to Roquebertin, who only got 1 hex of movement out of it. Great. Well, then the French said, well, we're done then. You know, screw you, man. And that meant that I could only move my general forward 1 movement, 5 hexes or 4 hexes, but because he's got that artillery with him, but that's it. And now we're going to the siege phase. It doesn't really matter what happens here. You don't really have to attack there. It doesn't do anything. We can maintain the siege for no good reason. But we do have the bombardment, and the weather's better. Should have 5 guns. The enemy has none, I believe. So we're just rolling straight up now. And we get a 2, which does nothing. No breach. And we'll go to the attrition and keep pushing on. I've been forgetting about his engineers. Let me fire them off at this point. On a 5 or 6, they give me a bonus. No. On a 1, they'd be destroyed. But otherwise, the attrition, I think I've got 2 losses off the French here. I gotta count my numbers again. 19, 24. This is the pain in the ass of these systems. 26, 30, 42. Yeah, we're gonna take 2 losses. I had to check to see if we're on the top. I don't expect anyone else will take any, but we'll see. Forgetfulness in play. Alviano has to take attrition losses as well. He's sitting in unfriendly territory, actually. It's hard for me to remember because this is all Venice's control, but everything here, everything where there's little control markers, conquer markers, is not pro-Venice. The only pro-Venice thing outside of Venice itself is Crema. Things have gotten interesting because Pitigliano has moved up adjacent to Chaumont, Chaumont, and Louis here. So we worry about the guy with the highest initiative first. He has to make a decision. That's Louis with the 3 initiative. So he's going to launch his besiege first. I'll roll for the engineers, see if they come in. Hey, I forgot to roll for weather this turn. Oops. We'll just assume it's clear, I guess, because we did the whole damn turn. It likely was. Okay. So my artillery did not get a bonus, and now I'm on this 4-5 table again. I roll a 3, which doesn't come through with anything. Hey, late medieval sieges, not impressive. Okay, so he's done, and now we go over to what amounts to a skirmish. And because it's a skirmish, we have to follow the sequence for battle here. Now, how does this work? First step, designate attacking force. Okay. Yeah, but under skirmish, we know the 2 hexes that are fighting, but under skirmish, we don't get a full fight. Determine the fighting force. One of the first is eligible capitanos. Well, we gotta find the actual write-up for this because it's a little different. The attacking player exited from his starting hex and it's not a fortress, so it's going to be an counterattack. Both players get a random force in play. Well, for Chaumont, that's easy. But for Pitigliano, it's not so easy. He has 1, 2, 3, 4 different commanders. Now, you could throw these all in a cup and check that way, but I would rather do it this way. So it's number 2. It's going to be Pio. Pio is going to be fighting him. Now, then we go to, and you can see how random this is, because since I don't have a major battle, I can't engage with everything. Okay. Undemoralized units of the force of each side are determined. Now combat. Execute the assault table. Okay. So, Pio has a quality of 1. And Chaumont has a quality of 2. He's got some quality 3 units there, but not 50%. So we're going to be on the assault table at -1. We're fighting against breastworks. What does that mean? Does that mean this turns into a siege? I don't know. Let me see. Not allowed to attack because he withdrew into the town. Oh boy. So now we have attrition results on all of these guys. And on him. Whee. Big field armies operating in close proximity of enemy forces, they have problems and are suffering attrition, at least a point a turn. This is why I like to play out a scenario like this. If, you know, this was one big battle and I was seeing this shit, I'd be like, oh crap, I've just screwed up, you know, the whole thing. But this is a fairly short scenario. It's going to end down here. And, you know, I don't think there's a chance the French can win because I don't think they can get down here with enough force to take it. But at least we're seeing, you know, how the forces interact, and I'm beginning to get some ideas of how to cope with this style of combat. It's really, really hard to dislodge somebody. Pitigliano is going to have to entrench himself to be able to face this. He didn't have enough movement points to do so. So, you know, he wasn't able to start the siege right away. And, you know, now I got to decide, hey, do I want to walk around here and try to besiege Louis instead? Is that of any value to me? I'm not sure, but I'll tell you this much. If I can get down to here, and I can do that, 1, 2. Of course, there's a pursuit possibility if I run out of this hex. That's the problem with approaching where I was. I can inflict better attrition on him. I probably won't be able to do that without, you know, taking a risk at worse, at some bad pursuit results, because Chaumont has some actual troops here that he could inflict some real casualties on me with. But it is sort of a comedy of errors at this point. And pretty much passed through a turn. Another siege established here by Pitigliano, and that's pretty much it that happens for the turn. Some attrition losses. Neither side got their artillery success there, so they're not able to attack. One thing I've forgotten, which could have hastened, well, certainly would have hastened the movement into here, for example. With the maneuver order, you could do administrative march, and that doubles your base movement allowance. I guess your base, so that then you subtract any initiative penalty from that. So these guys could have made reasonable marches and gotten there. Still, I think the Venetians had the edge under those circumstances. In fact, maybe even more of the edge, because they had further to travel. I don't think the French could have guaranteed getting in while the Venetians couldn't, but I'm not sure. If that's the case, the French do have a way to kind of win this early. Where we are sitting right now, if this breaks early, Louis could go on administrative march, get quite far, and then deploy and hope that he doesn't get wrecked. But I don't think that armies disappear in this game terribly easily. I don't think this is going to get cleared up very easily. And something finally happened. We got another siege level here against Chaumont. And I think we finally get to attack. For siege combat only if the besieging force has siege artillery or the besieged forces without artillery strength points. Hold on. Okay, the besieged forces without artillery, Chaumont has none. Then treat as B, else no effect. So we got a breach result. By my understanding, breach result increases the siege level. Hey, finally, you know. But it also allows us to actually launch an attack into the breach. Now, the fortifications double, I think it's up to 4 strength points. So Chaumont actually is bigger than he looks. He's 12, 17, 21, which is probably bigger than anything Partigliano can throw at him. And that causes a problem, and I have to decide. We're in contact, so I can decide if I'm throwing something against him. The best I have here appears to be 18. And I'm not sure I want to make an assault at less than odds. The thing is, though, if I beat up Chaumont's forces, they surrender. I don't have to kill them all. So I gotta look at the siege rules and I'll be back in a bit. Before I do that, I've got a discipline check to make. I forgot I not only got the breach, I also got the discipline check. So let's see what that's gonna be, because we haven't had to make one of those yet. So the problem is, when I go to the discipline check table, both values are present, troop quality and reliability. So troop quality is during combat. Command and activation is reliability. When do you roll for command and activation? I don't remember. Well, let me look in the table of contents that pretends to be an index. I would much rather have an index. Discipline check. But knowing the layout sticks in my head kind of enough that I can find stuff quite often. Okay, so during command or combat and attrition, you're subject to discipline checks. The discipline checks in command are when you're doing like a forced command or some such. Force order or continuous attack. Okay. So we will be using the other kind, the actual troop quality. Now the troop quality on Chaumont are 2 2s and a 3. And I think we just roll 1 die. Once for all units on the force, yeah. Okay. And we're going to need a 6. Oh, no, that's for the really bad side. Yeah, we need a 6 to demoralize anything. We get a 2, which means both sides pass, and nothing happens there. So now, it would have been nice if I demoralized some troops, because then an attack would be more likely. But at this point, I don't know if there's any good chance of the assault. So we'll have to flip through all these charts to find the attack table. So the first question is, are we in affecting terrain because of the defensive thing? And I think not. Quality, we are, I believe, the same. Oh, shit. No problem with little numbers on, little chits on a marker track. So we'd be looking at, well, we're not at 2-to-1, so we're not getting a shift there either. So basically, I think we'd be hitting somewhere around here on the even track. And actually the larger force, I don't know how to read this, effectively. So we have a 1D here, and it looks like I can't read the columns. Looks like a 1D there. And it looks like kind of a mirror maybe. I can't be sure because it's kind of hard to read. But it looks like it's pretty much an even up odds. And the D could cause a discipline check. Worse comes to worse, I do have other troops with me, but they could try to sortie out and fight one of them. So I'll try to figure out what my odds are here. Odds are good. If the resultant result indicates which side lost, if an attack is made inside the breach and won, the fortress is conquered and the siege is over. I'm going for it. So as far as I can see, we've got heat, but that doesn't make a difference. I don't think we have any lands neck. Oh, does this guy have Swiss infantry now? The Swiss are over here on this force. Okay. So I think we're on the 0 table on not affecting, and we just roll a die and I see no modifiers. Three. Okay, the attacker lost. Oh no, the larger force lost and took a hit. Now does this make sense? 6. Yeah, okay. So I think it's over. I think I just defeated Chaumont there. There's always these. Now this is not going to play out that way, but the Zucker games, the combat always feels kind of like a disappointment to me, and it's kind of feeling like it here too. Like there's just not enough going on. But we had to sit here and position and fire and everything. And now the siege has been won. And it's reasonable in terms of historical accuracy. Although, I don't know how much, but once a force got into a town, usually that's it. Once the entrenchments are broken, it didn't turn into a big fight. So in a way, fighting a siege is a riskier thing. And this guy's just gone. So far I've been able to take my attrition losses on sort of my crappiest troops. But Alviano here just took a 2 loss, and he's only got 1 of these. Now I have to spread these out as evenly as possible, which means some of my actual Venetian units actually took a loss there. I can't just take it on the Italian serving troops there. Okay, we only have 2 turns left, and this is one of our point gaining turns. And we saw something kind of exciting happen last turn, right? But now it's time to generate the points for the new turn. And again, I'm not going to allow the Venetians to say, hey, let's call this an interphase, because in a game this short where one side has to capture a lot of things, I think that's going to skew it way too much. I really don't think that the system's designed to handle it in this scenario. We'll see as we get to any longer scenarios, but in this one I just don't think it's fair. So I think we check for weather first again. Let's get that out of the way. I think we're still in May. Oh, it's heat again. Okay. And then we check the points, and we're over 30, but nothing too huge. And there's no mods. It's mud and snow affects it. So 7, this is for the French. They get -2. Now their base, I think, is 4 again. So they get 2 action points. That's enough to do something with. With 1 force. And now, I think the Venetians are only 2 this time. I don't know how far I am. 1, 2, 3. Looks like 21 hexes. I could have gone off-road for part of that, but I don't see any reason here. 5, so they're going to be at -2. Yeah, they're only a 4, so they get 2 as well. And now everybody loses their orders, and we got to buy new orders again. But notably, is anybody on attack? These guys are on attack, so they're going to go to previous attack. So I'll pull all of these off. None of those take any effect. Over here, these can come off. But this goes to a previous attack, which means if I want to keep engaging, I'm going to have to make a quality check. I'm going to have to pay the points to do an attack, and I'm going to have to make a quality check. So Bottigliano may have gotten himself in a position where he can no longer advance quickly. That may be important because my only chance of winning with the French is to get down here and take this, and I need Louis to do that. So let me see if I can figure out how to pull a rabbit out of my ass here. Because I still have to hold, I think, 3 of these 4 to win. And that's the minor victory. For the strategic, I need Crema, Brescia, and Bergamo. And Brescia and Bergamo are up here, so I'm not going to be able to get all of that. But I may well, or I may be able, to sort of force march Louis down. Now the problem is Louis only has 5 movement points if he takes that artillery with him. This actually doesn't matter much, but 5 movement points, force march, say it's 10, but I have to move here 1, 2 to convert, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I almost have to get through Bottigliano in order to attack. Now, I don't have force march ability on the attack chart. So I guess I could run back this way. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. That gets me 1 set of spaces. I get a second activation, and I can get down into place down there. So I think that's going to be what I have to do. Now, if I start with if I start with a maneuver command, that'll cost me 2 to begin with. It's going to cost me 2 more to get to attack, so that's going to cost all my action points. I honestly just do not think that I can launch a successful, that I can hold on to these things successfully, because I don't have enough points to do the maneuver that I need to do the administrative march and then convert it to an attack. That uses all my points, and then I need somebody, either one of the sub-commanders here that I'd have to pay for orders, or Earl Barton, who I'd have to pay for orders for, to try to garrison some of these spaces. I need 3 of these 4, 3 of the 4 towns up here. I just don't see how I can get it. So I think I'm going to take the rest of this scenario to play out basically the battle here with Bottigliano instead of trying to I'm sorry, I have that GL in my name. I should know how to pronounce it, but it's hard when you see it. And plus, I also am very used to passing my name off in a more anglicized version anyhow. Yeah, maybe we'll see a major battle this way. I'm not so sure, though, because I think Louis is just going to try to bust his way through with the siege here. So we may not be able to see a major battle even with this. I could take a shot with Rolkba and see if he can take this space, but he really can't. I cheated anyway. If a besieging force changes its order from attack to another order, it may not conduct siege combat. Which means Louis was not able to launch his attacks here. Which didn't have any effect, but that's okay. This is all very strange to me. But I also remember somewhere, and I can't find it, where they talk about storming the fortress, which sounds different from the siege procedure, but I don't remember any procedure related around that. Anything that seemed to be an effective reason to believe that there's some means of attacking the castles, the fortifications, without undergoing the siege procedure, which requires that you have artillery, because without artillery, well, unless you starve them out, because without artillery, you can't get this up, and thus you can't ever actually attack, because it's only on a breach that you're allowed to attack. That's how I'm reading it, but like I said, there was a hint about storming the fortress, which sounds to me like something other than trying to knock a breach and storm the fortress through the breach. I could see it going either way, though, and since there's no indication of that storming the fortress, and I think it was mentioned once, there's no indication of that having any kind of special rules for it. Obviously, it doesn't make sense to me to basically allow you to fight the same combat that you would for a breach. What is clear is that when you get the breach, you're still facing the fortification effects, which seem to just be doubling of the troops. Except, God, this is a pain in the ass. Except that one of the combat chits for the major battle is the entrenchments, the earthworks, which is the defensive value, which, over here at least, I required a siege to be able to attack. I did not allow them to attack because... God. I mean, maybe I'm just missing something here, but damn, man. Okay, fortress requires siege. I did not have a fortress there. But a force intending to begin a siege combat must be in an earthworks hex. Okay, no. Yeah, I think you can have field battles against entrenched units. I'm not quite sure what the effect of that is in a skirmish. But that I should not have been doing the siege procedure in this battle. That should have been a field battle of some sort or another, but damned if I can figure out what the hell it was supposed to be, and then we have like 5 pages of major battle rules here. So, let's see. If a skirmish is declared against a force in a fortress hex, and the player is inside... Here's where it is. So benefiting from the fortress defensive advantage, the fortress is being stormed. That sounds like it's not using artillery. You can just attack the fortress as if it's an in-breach attack, and boom, you're in there. However, you'd be using And that's a fortress, not a damn... Let's look at fortresses, find them. See here, during in-breach attacks, forces inside a fortress benefit from the fortress effect, which appears to just be the doubling of the strength. Okay, so I think you don't siege breastworks, which makes sense, or field works of any kind. Which is what I did, but I also don't think that you're attacking a located force in those cases. I think, unless you were sitting by them. I don't know. When I looked at combat effective earthworks, that's where I started making some conflation between them and fortifications, or fortresses. If a force is attacked through a fortified hex site, up to 4 of the defender's strength points are doubled when calculating odds on the assault table. Note, if the earthworks are set up in a fortress, this is in addition to the combat effect of the fortress. So you get more values. Cav charges, artillery fire, and certain unit types suffer a penalty if the earthworks are present. Great. Okay. But nothing there seems to indicate that you besiege the earthworks. I just fucked that up. No big shock there, except that I'm not really able to figure out when I do besiege a city, like I've got here, what the results are. If I have to be in attack formation to continue the siege, well, what that means, or attack orders, what that means is, hey, I can siege for one month or whatever, and then I'm going to rest and not bother bombarding for the next month. And, I can maintain the siege status there, but I lose sort of this because I'm not attacking, so I can no longer actually affect the hex. I also don't see a reason particularly why I want to bombard rather than just storm the fortress right away. And that may be historically accurate. I'm just having trouble capturing the gist of the rules. Now, what I remember, say, from Europa Universalis over there, is that the fortresses in this era, in that game, were particularly easy to storm. But... well, maybe not to storm. They fell particularly easy because the artillery knocked them down right away, is basically the thing. The fortifications were not yet built to withstand the level of gunfire that was capable against them. But of course, that wouldn't really apply if you don't have artillery. So storming the castle should be significantly harder, I would think, than trying to get a breach on it. I don't know. You were capable of storming the fortresses. There's no question there. There's a possibility of attacking something you didn't breach. There always was that possibility. You're scaling ladders and this, that, and the other. But damned if I know how these rules are to be interpreted for this. I thought I had the game down, and man, I'm sure we're going to get to just as much trouble if we ever hit these. So basically, I'm left with two options from what I can suss out of these rules. Here's what it is. You don't have to siege shit. You can walk up to a city, assault it, boom, you're fine. You assault it using the skirmish table, which means they may have to retreat. And no biggie, you're not going to surrender the whole force the way that I saw here, which wouldn't have happened anyway because earthworks can't be attacked. Now, you're using siege. If you're attacking with earthworks, they don't seem to do shit in terms of affecting terrain or anything. Again, maybe I'm mistaken, but their only effect seems to be to double some of the troops in a skirmish. Okay? And that can be in addition to forces in a fortress in a skirmish. What about in the breach? Well, all the forces behind earthworks and behind fortifications still get doubled just the same if you're doing a siege. The only difference is if you choose to do a siege assault, you have the possibility of capturing the entire force. That's kind of the difference. So, if you storm the castle, you leave a back door open to let the troops out or something. I have no idea. That's what it seems to be, and that makes absolutely no fucking sense to me. I'm sorry. To me, the difference between a siege, where you set up your artillery and start lobbing shells in, and storming the castle, is primarily the attacker's going to get his ass handed to him storming the castle, in the sense that he's going to have to try to go up with a battering ram, he's going to be with petards, he's going to be going with scaling ladders, and he's just going to try to assault, and he's probably going to take 4 to 5 times the losses that he would with a breach assault. More than that, a breach probably will cause the fortifications to surrender. Now, whether or not troops can withdraw safely, I don't want to touch into that too much, because I'm not quite sure what the siege means. It seems to me that you're just setting up a siege outside the city from one angle and bombarding the one side of it, unless you set up multiple sieges. The idea that a force would sit down and start a bombardment and a siege and then decide, no, we're just going to camp here for a month, is absolutely ludicrous to me, which seems to be the case when you hit one of these yellow chits. I'm left with, shit, man, I don't get this game anymore. It's just like sieges don't make any sense anymore. Just fucking storm the city, push them out, right? And because you can't maintain a good siege. You just can't. You're not going to be able to maintain fire on the city, and I'm almost considering putting this away, because I don't think I can resolve these issues. I just don't think I can. I'll look again on BGG. I knew there was some questions, but I didn't see anything that seemed of this level. It seemed to be of a much simpler level, as though people couldn't get to this point. But there are people who rate this highly, and there are people who say these rules are clear. Yeah, okay. On the other hand, under siege, we have a battle in which a defender is inside a fortress. The attacking force must be in there. It sounds like there's no opportunity to do a battle without using the siege procedure against the fortress. I'm not sure, because again, there's that storming the fortress, which is, I don't know where the hell it is anymore, because there's this damn 5 pages of crap here, but I think it's under the skirmish rules where they talk about it. This attacking a located force has this a skirmish is declared against a force in a fortress hex, and the defending player declares his intention to defend inside, so benefiting from the fortress defensive advantage. The fortress is being stormed, as though you could skirmish a fortress, even though a siege is defined as an attack against a fortress, against troops inside the fortress. So, serious conflict there, and I'm just left with my hands kind of locked here. I'm working my way through the living rules, version 1.1. There's no version number on these, so I'm assuming this is a prior version, although this is the second edition of the game, but I'm not seeing shit so far. Found a point here. So, if the defending player occupies a fortress hex, the owning player must decide if he intends to defend inside or outside the fortress. If he defends outside, the battle procedure goes with a major battle or skirmish. If he defends inside, the attacking player may interrupt the battle, or he may begin a siege procedure. Or he may storm the fortress using a skirmish procedure. See the TEC for defending inside the fortress. Wow, I don't remember there being a fortress. So there we get this. It's not affecting, is it? Where do they tell you whether something's affecting? Up here. Okay. Yeah. So it looks like it's how I read it, which is to say there's no fucking reason to siege, and it's a really bad idea to do so because you have to be on continual attack to do it. That you're going to have to bring up new commands with new artillery if you want to continue sieging. The chances of you breaching the thing within any reasonable time are gone. I'm going to call this scenario. I think we found some issues that, you know, are irretrievable. The only thing we could hope for coming out of this is maybe an attack on Pitigliano or something to see the major battle situation. But I don't think we're going to see that. I cheated with the French by firing here. I cheated here by trying to do a siege with the earthworks. Again, learning scenario. I'm not at all happy with what I've learned so far. I'm going to look at examples of play and such not to see if I can get anything else. But I think I may not even come back to this. I'm sure I will, but I'm pretty fucking sickened with what I've run across, just in terms of how the combat interaction is in it. It's not because the delays and such not. It's got to do with, damn it, man, if I set up a siege, I just don't see it as reasonable that the bombardment would halt. I could see where you couldn't launch an actual assault in the period. Like, if you've got an attack in place where you set up the siege, the next period you might have trouble setting up an actual assault. But man, you should be able to just keep bombarding the damn thing. That, as long as you have the artillery supplies coming through, I don't see that as a problem. And artillery supplies are either going to be there or not. They're not going to be a matter of, oh, my army's disorganized now because we fired, you know, their clothing as artillery ammo. No, you know. All right, we're calling this one. I'm sending it up. And I should probably get to another one, but maybe I'll play something in between to try to cleanse the palate from this taste.